Hey, that high guy. Nice to see you. Hey, SD. Hey, Triple Threat. You woke up from your nap time. Yeah, I figured, I have all these books that I want to read, but I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to read a different book like every other day because it gets confusing. You know what I mean? So I'm going to finish the Mojave Incident. And then I think what I'm going to do, because there's two books that I got that I wanted to do with someone else. Like the Chaos with the Charles Manson. I wanted to do that with Nun Nun, just get some of her, I don't know, I guess like input on it because she's the one who got me onto this book. And then same with Autistic Shill, I wanted to do the other alien book, which was the Falcon Incident. And that one's Canadian, so that one I really want to get into. But what I wanted to do after this one was the Herb Baumeister one about the paranormal. So I'm thinking, should I wait for October for that one and just continue with the alien and then do Manson? Just trying to think. I just got the shower just in time. All right, who's in here? Hey, Snoop. Hey, Kimberly. Hey, Shannon. Hey, Heavenly Cow. You got that baby yet, Heavenly? Isn't that crazy though, this picture? That you, yeah, that's literally what ET looked like. On my hair. Smells so good. Oh my God. Yeah, do the paranormal one for October, eh? That's what I was thinking too. It's this one here that I got. I'm dying to read it though, but I'm gonna wait. So many damn books. So this one, yeah, the Fox Hollow Farm. It's also paranormal as well. So I'll read that one then. Yay, Heavenly, that's amazing. Congratulations, Grams. So I'll read this one then in October. So I will do this one then with Autistic. I was planning on doing it next week on Friday, but I just need to contact her and ask her when she wants to do it. And then I'll just do this one. And this is the one that happened in Canada. And then I'll do her Baumeister and Manson. But I just want to do one book at a time because I find last time when I was doing like two at once, it was too damn confusing. Like I remember even Teresa saying, like, what book is this again? I'm just like, yeah. So I'll just finish with this one. This one's not too much longer either. Let me see here. Yeah, there's like this much left. Yeah, there's not very much. I already read all that. Hi, Lucy. You have been. Yeah, because I haven't seen you post anything, Dad. Tell Trey I said hi. I'm alive and we'll be back. Her computer is also the house server, so kind of important. Oh, crap. All right, I'll let them know. So right now, where we left off in the book, the couple, Tom and Elise Gifford, they are now meeting with the author of this book, which is Ron Felber. So that this is when they start writing the book and telling their experiences. I still say, hands down, hey, I am. Still say, hands down, this is probably one of the scariest alien books I've ever read. It's terrifying. All right, so now we're on chapter 4, and they're at the National Center for Trauma in Washington, D.C. So this is June 10th, 1991 at 2:45 p.m. The Giffords sat uneasily in Dr. Vitone's office at the National Center for Trauma in Georgetown. It had been a grueling day, especially for Elise, who was now pregnant. I don't know, Kimberly, remember we were saying that? Like, oh my God. And even Deborah, like, oh my God, is she pregnant? Did they take something for her to make a baby up there? Or is she, did they impregnate her? Or is it really Tom's kid? Or is it meant, like, I'm so confused. I don't know. So she's pregnant. Over the last 5 hours, the doctor, already familiar with the account, had them retell it from start to finish, often asking 3 or 4 questions about some detail or feeling that they had described. In this way, he was able to explore the depth of their experience and gain insight into their logic and emotional makeup. Dr. Vitone's objective was to determine if the Giffords suffered from any psychiatric or organic illness that could account for their experience. The doctor entered 40ish. She was lean and wiry, a little taller than average, with a brown mustache and a reserved personal demeanor. Yeah, half family and yeah, in your cell and Discord just don't work at times. I don't know how everyone's doing. Hugs and nugs all. Hope everyone is well. I'm loading up. I love it when you're stoned. You're funny as hell. He sat down in a comfortable leather chair directly across from them. One thing I can say is that you aren't crazy or psychotic in any way, he began with a smile. I also don't see any indications your experience involved psychotic hallucinations. Could you explain that? Elise said. Certainly, he answered. There's 2 types of hallucinations, visual and auditory. Visual tend to go with psychotic reactions like schizophrenia or manic depression. Auditory occurs in response to some physical stimulus, such as hallucinogens, alcohol, or brain tumors. I thought auditory would have been um, linked to schizophrenia, or schizophrenia would also be linked to the auditory ones, but oh well. His deep set, intelligent eyes attempted to engage them. Point is, they never occur together. For 2 people to both have auditory and visual hallucinations and then to have them be identical, he shook his head. Impossible. So you're ruling out the possibility of mental illness, Tom said. That's correct, he said, nodding thoughtfully, sorry. Neither of you demonstrated any symptomology consistent with psychiatric or organic illness before or during this incident you described here today. What about drugs? Same holds. How about extremely sophisticated drugs or chemicals that the military might be testing for psychological warfare? He persisted. No, that doesn't change it. The doctor answered, for you to get visual hallucinations means you'd have to be going through the same physical phenomenon. So, fine, let's say that both you and Elise have been exposed to or somehow ingested the same hallucinogen at the same time. It's true you'd both be hallucinating. Then let's say you look up at the stars. It's possible that you'd both have visions of apparitions, but for them to be identical and doing the same thing, that could never happen. He's got some good points. Elise appealed to him. Doctor, if it's not mental illness and it's not drugs, what is happening to us? That I cannot answer, but I do have some observations about your experience and the symptoms you described that may be helpful. The doctor slipped a notepad from out of his jacket pocket. Throughout the account, you make reference to a fog or a mist that you believe the creatures used to settle you down and control your breathing when events got out of hand. Is that correct? Yes, they both agreed. I have an alternate interpretation that views the fog as a panic reaction system. He gestured with his pencil. You both talked about pressure in the chest, hyperventilation, cold flashes, and the mist, which we'll call haziness of vision. All of these are associated with panic, caused generally by overwhelming traumatic events. Oh, my battery's dying. Sorry, guys. There. Dr. Batone turned the page of his notepad. Similarly, when you describe the creatures playing with your mind and subjecting you to psychological torment, there's also an explanation. His eyes raised from the notes. When people are put in circumstances where terrifying events are going on around them, they put up defenses, he explained. One of these is by disengaging from the terror of the situation by basically pretending you're not there. These visions may have been your way of doing that. Now, the fact that they were not pleasant in all cases suggests to me exactly how frightened you must have been. Again, he turned the page. The final point I'd like to make involves the reactions you described most recently after the experience. Fear, depression, feelings of violation and helplessness, the sense that you were being watched or monitored. Once again, these are symptoms people experience after severe trauma. He gauged a reaction and then went on. In other words, I can't say if you're being watched, as you claim, but I can say that many people would feel that way after going through an experience such as you've described. Hey, Teresa. So you believe us? Tom asked. I believe that what you're experiencing is a normal reaction to highly unusual or and traumatizing events outside the realm of normal human experiences. We appreciate that, offered Elise, but what can we do now? His eyebrows arched. Good question. If you were local, I suggest you spend more time here. But there's more to your situation than the treatment of trauma. He tapped his pencil against the palm of his hand. In both accounts, there's clarity of detail and at least comprehension of what's happening. Until the very end, Elise talked about falling asleep, fully clothed, and you, Tom, about falling asleep instantaneously with the creature still there. This is the part that troubles me most, he concluded. The 4 hours between you're going to sleep so suddenly and waking up the next morning. Dr. Baton stood, then walked to his desk. He opened the top drawer and produced an address book. He turned the pages searching for a name, then jotted down a piece of paper. You seem to be people who need to know the truth about what happened that night in the desert. If that's the case and you want to pursue this, here's the name of a colleague who specializes in retrogressive hypnotic technique for victims of trauma. But I must warn you, the procedure can be emotionally jarring. Events plunged deep into the subconscious are generally there for a reason. The doctor handed the slip of paper to Tom, who read the name Dr. Allen Annixter, Asheville, North Carolina. Good luck. I hope he'll be able to help, said the doctor, shaking Tom's hand and then Elise's. The Giffords thanked Dr. Batone and then left his office for the quiet, staid beauty of Georgetown. In his hand, Tom held the missing piece that could make the puzzle come together once and for all. I don't know about you guys. I really, really would not want to get hypnotized. Just for the fact that exactly what this doctor just said, when you go through trauma, your brain works in such a mysterious way. It hides it. You know what I mean? Like I've got PTSD and I know things, but I don't want to know these things if that makes sense. So I would never go and get hypnotized and I will never go to a psychiatrist again. I find it makes it worse. Way worse. I get more night terrors if I talk about these things. So I just don't. I keep them locked away, lock and key, gone. But for them to do this, I've noticed a lot of alien abductees. They go and get um hypnotized and then all this stuff comes out. Yeah, that's the ET phone home. Yep. There you go. SD just said the same thing. And I know about their history a bit. Yeah. It's too much. We couldn't handle it. Exactly. Yeah. So your specialist denied you that treatment for that reason. See, I never asked about it, to be honest. I never asked if I could get hypnotized because I want to know. Like, what I'm thinking is because of the night terrors and the intrusive thoughts, that's what's horrific for me. And it's an everyday thing and an every night thing with these night terrors. It's draining. It's ruining my life. So I'm thinking, do I go see a hypnotist and get it out so I can talk about it? Or do I just keep it locked away and keep having night terrors? Or do I go to a hypnotist and then will my night terrors go away and those intrusive thoughts? Or am I gonna go get hypnotized and it's gonna be 10 times worse? That's my fear. And they can't tell me whether that's gonna happen or not. So I kind of don't know what to do. I'm thinking just leave it the way it is. I was told it would make things worse because there's so much I don't remember. Yeah, that is my biggest fear is when I remember it all. There's things I do remember, but there's a lot of spots I don't. And I believe that's our way of our brain coping, you know what I mean? All right. This one's titled Them. Evil. I don't know if they're totally evil. It's like in life. There's some who are evil, but then there are others who are special. Totally good. And it's those I try to think about, especially when things get difficult, because I believe it's those that will bring us peace. Elise Gifford. What the hell is she talking about? Maybe she's talking about the aliens. She says, evil, I don't know, evil. It's like in life, there's some who are evil, but then there are others who are special. Okay. So now we're on part 4, chapter 1, and there's only 4 parts to this, I believe. Yep. I know, right? No, I never did that, Kimberly. I used to go to a therapist I've talked to people on the phone, specialists and stuff, but then I just end up quitting. I can't handle it. It's too much. It makes things worse for me. So then I asked for to see if there's a medication to help stop night terrors, and I found one, and it worked great. It was amazing. I just take one every night. I do not have any dreams whatsoever, and I wake up feeling amazing. I'm happy. I'm refreshed. I feel amazing. The only down there's 2 things that was wrong with that though. It was, it gave me this really sore like tummy ache every time I took them, and then I started gaining a lot of weight. It was and I didn't even hardly eat. It was like, "What is going on?" So, honestly, if it made me gain weight, I don't care actually. I'd rather gain weight and lose the night terrors than anything, but it was my stomach that was really killing me that it was hard to take them, so I need to ask him for another one because I did have the best sleep and woke up feeling so good. Elise Gifford lay in bed with her newborn infant, Ashley Elise, in her arms. She was weak but happy with Tom sitting beside her on the hospital bed. She smiled weakly. I'm so happy the baby is okay. So I take it the baby did come out half alien, half human. Elise gently pulled the pink blanket away so Tom could see the healthy 6 pound, 11-ounce baby girl. She's a fine looking baby, Tom beamed. And I was so scared, Tom, that she wouldn't be normal. I know. He comforted her. I know. Have you seen my mom and dad? He nodded with a proud smirk. They're ecstatic, especially your dad. Did you tell them we decided to go through with it? The hypnosis, I mean? They support it. Think it's the right decision and wanted you to know that. She looked to him solicitously. And your folks, what do they think? Carol says she's for getting to the bottom of it if we can, though I know deep down she's terrified of what might happen. And Wolfie, his lips puckered as he struggled with the words. Well, Wolfie still leans toward the military explanation, despite what Dr. Petone said, but one way or the other, he knows things can't go on this way and is trying to put it to rest if that's possible. Lisa's eyes grew wary, unsure as she took Ashley close in her bosom. And what about you, Tom? Are you sure this is what is best? I am, he said with conviction. It's the only way, and for better or for worse, is there a chance we'll finally know where we stand. She kissed the baby's cheek gently. I'd hope somehow it would all just go away, but it's not going to stop. They're never going to stop unless we do something. Geez, that sounds like what I say about KJ. Yeah, so then you know exactly what I'm talking about, Kimberly. Yeah, I did say hi to you earlier, honey. I said, hey, Snoops. Yeah, I did. I said it way earlier when because you were one of the first ones in here. I'm sorry you didn't hear me. Hi, my dad. Oh no, you too, Triple? Yeah, we all have a lot of issues, eh? We need to start a Discord. Seriously, I would. Anyone who's got these traumatic. Oh, I was gonna say, I know I said hi to you. Yeah, she said hi, my big sis. I'll even look for it. I'm pretty sure she did. Hello, Nikki and everyone. Oh, I don't think she knew you were in here, maybe yet. Yeah, okay, I was gonna say she must not have known. There you go. I don't know. I would definitely start Discord, and then anybody who has these issues who's willing to talk about them. No, you didn't get the date wrong at all. I had to switch it because I have to finish this book. That's the only thing that made sense to me. Because if I open another one, I'm gonna be like, I don't know. I did that last time. I read 2 books at the same time, and everybody was so lost. So I've only got a little tiny bit of this book left. So I'm gonna read this first, and then we'll go on to the other one, which I might have to finish this tomorrow, maybe. If not, then we'll do the chaos one. So yeah, I'll talk to you after a bit. Sorry I didn't tell you, no, I just kind of did it. Tom reached for her hand. I know, but I'm hopeful Dr. Annixter can help. I've done some homework. He's received degrees from George Washington University and UCLA. He's currently director of Mountain Center of Psychiatry in North Carolina. There's no one better to go for this kind of thing, he said, determination building like a wave inside him as he spoke. And if he can just enlighten us, tell us something that could help to make sense of it all. He sighed heavily. Well, that's all I'm asking. That's all either of us can ask, he told her. She considered his words. Then some other pattern of thought seemed to overshadow what he'd said, rendering it insignificant, even small minded. No, you're not losing it, girl. No, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I didn't even say anything. I forgot. I'm so Elise tugged the bed sheet that partially covered her and Ashley. She carefully unwrapped the soft cotton receiving blanket that was wound around the baby so meticulous and tight. Finally, she handed the infant over to him, now clothed only in a diaper, tiny legs pedaling in the air, but uncrying as he took her into his arms. This is a special baby, Tom. Do you understand that? Oh boy. She will grow up to be a special person who will know things about them that others don't. Tom gazed into the tiny blue eyes of the newborn daughter. Deep in his soul, he knew Elise was right. Oh my God. Oh, your throat's not cooperating? I do tomorrow. Relax. Barstow, California, October 10th, 1991, 1:05 a.m. It was 2 months later, while Tom and Elise were visiting Wolfie and Carol in Barstow, that the most salient in a string of occurrences since the birth of Ashley happened. Tom Jr. and Zoe, who was now 2 years old, were sleeping in a room adjoining their grandparents' bedroom. Elisa put Ashley to bed in their room and was curled up on the couch with Tom, watching a late night movie. Elise put down the Diet Coke she was drinking and looked up to Tom. She felt it, and he did too, a chilling sensation flying its way up the small of their back until her entire body was left tingling. That is terrifying. I wonder if this time his parents see it. See them, I mean. Inexplicably, they rose simultaneously, then padded to the sliding glass door that overlooked a fenced backyard and a fathomless view of the nighttime sky. In the silence, they watched as the stars began moving, much as they had in the Mojave that night, and rafts of gray, dark clouds, identical to those that shrouded the huge mothercraft in the desert, began to form in a tumult of roaring motion, rushing its way toward them. I'd shit. It was at that moment that the baby began crying. It was sudden and violent, like they had never heard her cry before. Wordlessly, Tom and Elise walked into the darkened bedroom where Ashley lay screaming. Elise took the infant into her arms, then returned with Tom at her side, though the living room with the TV was still squawking, beyond the plate glass door and into the backyard. The moonless sky was a jumble of emotion. Hundreds of bright, shiny stars now blinking as if to one another as the churning cauldron of the dark clouds stopped them in their tracks. As if by instinct, Elise held the baby into the cool night air and it stopped. This is crazy. Everything, as if the world was suddenly and totally shut off. Not a sound could be heard. Why is it every time I'm live? Shh. The baby stopped crying. The clock in the room. Hey, psst. The clock in the room stopped ticking. The clouds and stars ceased all movement. Have you guys ever witnessed that? There was a tornado warning like 10 years ago. And I remember I was staying in my outside my apartment on my balcony. And I remember everything went quiet and the sky was green. There was no crickets. There was no birds. There was no traffic. There was no lights. Nothing, absolutely nothing. I've never heard nothing like that kind of nothing before. You knew something was wrong. Yeah, so I'm wondering, shit, was that aliens then? Because there was some clouds that were dark and pretty creepy looking. Yeah, alien, right? That's crazy. So the clouds and the stars ceased all movement when the baby stopped crying. After an unknown period of time, Tom and Elise returned to their room. They placed Ashley back into her crib and laid down in bed together. It was them, Elise said blandly, moments before they fell into a deep and dreamless slumber. Yes, like it could even be a hurricane or something. Um, yeah, I've only had that happen once to me, and it scared me because I knew something bad was coming, and sure enough, it was a tornado. Like there was a warning, but I'm in Ontario, Canada. We don't really get stuff like that, and so I didn't really take it seriously. But then I don't know. I didn't see the tornado, but it did touch down like a 5-minute drive away from me. Yeah, it only seems to relate to weather. Exactly, but in this book, they're saying that it relates to UFOs. Yeah, Kimberly. Wonder if it's aliens then. Go away. Don't come here. I don't want you. Uh-uh. That's one thing I don't like is I'm terrified and petrified. I play in California, November 20th, 1991 at 6:15 a.m. The calm before the storm. Yes, exactly. Tom pulled his Honda Accord into the driveway of his parents' in-laws with Elise beside him and the three children in the back, both Zoe and Ashley in safety seats. 5-year-old Tom Jr. was complaining. I don't want to stay with Zoe and Ashley, he yelped. I want to go with you. Thomas, sweetheart, mommy and daddy are going far away on an airplane, she explained, an edge of anxiety creeping into her voice. Little guys can't go. It's only for the grown-ups like us. But you never take me anywhere, he whined. Besides, I'm not little, I'm big. Tom shook his head good-naturedly. Well, whether you're big or little, there are two things I know, he said, turning off the ignition and unbuckling his seatbelt. One is that you're staying with your grandmom and granddad. Two is that we're going to miss our plane if we don't get you dropped off and our tails on the road, he added for Elise's benefit. They exited the car from both sides, lifting kids and travel bags loaded with diapers and formula and Ninja Turtle toys. Vivian stood at the door, wide awake, her blonde permed hair already brushed and just so, despite the early hour. Her blue twinkling eyes seemed nervous and wary as Elise handed her Ashley with Thomas J. traveling behind, looking glum. Tom, feeling harried and concerned about making the flight, led Zoe toward her grandparents, his arms full out of basic necessities for three small children. Inside the house stood John. Sensing the rush, he put his cup of coffee to the side, then extended his long arms toward Tom. Here, let me help you with that. In a matter of minutes, all three children had all the paraphernalia that went along with them and had been transported from car to home. Remember to warm the formula before you give it to Ashley, Elise reminded, and don't give Zoe any chocolate no matter how often she asks for it. Vivian nodded, taking the information in one bit at a time, then repeating it to herself mentally as to a reminder to remember. Don't worry, dear. Tom stood beside Elise impatiently. Elsie, we gotta go. At last, Elsie turned to leave, kids behind as Vivian and John followed them to the door. Goodbye, said Elise to her mom as Tom made his way to the car, and thanks for taking the children. Vivian just shook her head with tears in her eyes, and Elise moved forward, double time, toward the car. Kids, John called out as the car doors opened. I want to tell you, we're proud of you, what you're doing. It takes a lot of guts. You're very brave. Tom and Elise listened, touched by his words. And one more thing, your mom and I have had a lot of time to think about it, and we believe you. Oh wow, wow, so her family believes her now. We believe everything you've told us happened the way you say it did. Tom and Elise waved one at a time as they entered the car, their faces flushed with emotion. Tom turned the ignition, the engine started. They were off to Lax Airport and the most significant meeting of their lives. I had to find this video from before my back went bad. There was the eeriest thing, like a wall of clouds that looked like hell was coming. Even traffic stopped. Yeah, it's scary when that happens. Oh, really? I'm sorry. That actually happens to me with Rumble a lot. Whenever I first get on Rumble, they I can never see the chat. I'll hit the live chat and then it will never show up. I have to go back out and then come back in and then it works every single time. It's a pain in the ears. Mountain Center of Psychiatry, Asheville, North Carolina, November 21st, 1991. Lori, my wife, and I met the Giffords on Thursday morning, November 21st at 7:45 a.m. at the Asheville Marriott. Okay, so now I'm reading Ron. He's the author of the book. Now I'm reading in his perspective, it looks like. Tom was dressed in jeans, a collared sports shirt, and loafers. Elise wore a pair of black slacks, a long print sweater, and flats. Both were nervous as we waited for a cab that seemed interminably long in getting to the hotel. The wait extenuated everyone's anxiousness about the day, including mine. At 8:05 a.m., the cab arrived and took us the 5-mile drive to Mountain Center of Psychiatry. Laurie sat in the front with his driver, Elise. Tom and I were in the back. So, how are you two feeling about this today? I asked cautiously. The word on everyone's mind came from Elisa's lips. Nervous, she shivered, but anxious to get it all over. Really. Same here, voiced Tom. We've been living with this thing so long and in so many ways that I've never been more ready to face it head on. Within a few minutes, the car stood before the center. I paid the cab driver. The four of us walked up along the stone path leading to the entrance. Inside, Dr. Annixter greeted us cordially. He was a heavy-set, bearded man in his 40s with a quiet, depthful way about him that bespoke his professionalism and experience. After the formalities have been gone through, and he simply said, "Please come this way." The doctor's session room was comfortable and old-fashioned with a sofa and soft cushioned chairs. The painted walls and pine paneling were done in muted beige and brown colors. He introduced us to the medical student who would be operating the video equipment, then positioned Lori and me off to one side and out of the subject's vision. Dr. Nixter began by explaining the clinical nature of his approach to the session. His questions would be worded in neutral terms so as to suggest nothing. He would make it clear from the onset to his subjects that an answer such as "I don't know" or "I'm not sure" were acceptable in order to discourage unsure and enhance responses by his subjects while in a hypnotic state. The session began. Yeah, it was a transformer thing. Yeah, you're right. She's a real giver. All right, you have a wonderful day too. That Hi, Lucy. Drive safe. 9:15 a.m. Dr. Annixter looked from his armchair to Tom Gifford to be first to be induced. So I think now we're going to hear actually what happened, like the whole thing, which is probably going to be scarier than what we read before. He asked him to concentrate on a discrete spot in the ceiling, then took him through the hypnotic procedure. It concluded with him walking to Tom, lifting his arm by the wrist, then dropping the limp appendage down by into his lap. Dr. Annixter then performed the identical procedure on Elise, so that by 10:05 a.m., both subjects were under and totally responsive to his voice and the commands he put forward. The doctor opened with probes concerning familiar known events during the experience, such as the period when they felt the truck being lifted into the craft, then focused on each of their individual accounts just prior to and including the missing 4 hours. Tom, I'm going to begin with you, he stated in a firm, rapt voice. Focus on a period of time you previously described as being black. Go back a few minutes before that time. Everyone in the room watched and waited as Tom Gifford began. I'm sitting at the end of the bed, in the back of the camper, looking out the back window. What do you remember? Tell me in your own words. Things have calmed down. The smaller beings have left and scattered back through the desert. The activities outside have subsided, though. I could still see that searcher moving out over the surface of the desert. What else? What else do you see? His eyelids fluttered furiously as he watched as if viewing a movie. Next thing were beings. The larger beings approached the back of the truck. Seems like they were moving toward the back, wanting to take a look. They just kept on coming by, and I can really smell their thick, musty, sulfury odor and feeling a tingling sensation in my belly when they were close. That's weird. The smell is what I find really strange. Aliens have a smell. I know Bigfoot has a smell, but aliens? Hey, cool gamer. How are you feeling? Annixter asked. I wanted to reach out and offer my hand and touch them, but Elise was too scared, so I just sat watching and asking why. Wanting to jump out of the truck, offer my hand in peace. I'd gotten over feeling scared. I wanted a physical encounter. Where did you think you were at this point? Same piece of land, but it seemed we were just not on Earth. Like someone had taken a giant shovel, scooped up a whole plot of Earth, then sucked it up toward the center of the ship. Even when we went to sleep, we knew it was different. The temperature was colder, and it felt like we were floating with the Earth we were on, 5 or 6 feet thick, than just air underneath. He spoke now with certainty and resentment. We were inside the craft all right, feeling like being in a floating museum or a vast collection cavity. What's the next thing you remember? I thought it was over for now and time to rest. I said to Elise, it's time to lay down and sleep. We had a plastic container in back, and we both urinated in it because we had to, and were too scared to leave the camper. I got back in bed, fully clothed, boots on, stretched out crosswise on the bed, kissed Elise good night, their lights still beaming through the window, then we fell asleep. And afterward, waking up all of a sudden in the morning and having sun fill the camper, thinking, where am I? What happened? Yeah, a sulfur smell. That usually and it's kind of like your theory, Kimberly. Demons have that sulfur smell, right? Um, and now aliens do. Like with other people were saying that they were linked, intertwined. I think so too, because it's funny how, not funny, but it's strange how Bigfoot and UFO kind of align themselves together. Yeah. You think they live underground? I think Teresa did too. Annixter nodded, expecting the blocking Tom was experiencing. He continued, take a deep breath, yet let your mind search. Let the memory come back on its own. Then speak out and share it with us. Take your time. Lori and I sat on the edge of our seats in anticipation. What would come of this probe into the 4 hours of the missing time? Already Annixter had established they were inside the ship at the time they fell asleep. At last, Tom Gifford spoke. His face was a mask of concentration. His vision was hazy for the period, though obviously he was struggling to see it. I see bright, bright blinking lights. I'm on my way back, encircled by people looking at me. I see their outlines in the light, strange shadows, but it's so bright. Go on, please, persisted Annixter. Concentrate. Take a deep breath, let it out, and see if you can remember more. I'm fighting and resisting them in my camper. Tom is suddenly agitated. Elise is grasping for my hand as she's being pulled away. They're white all over, and I'm fighting. He throws his head to one side. I want to remember things about that, but the memories don't seem concrete, more like images. Suddenly, Elise's voice rang out with a volume and hysteria that set our teeth on edge. Bug eyes, she screamed. Anxiety swung around to her. Say more. It's one of the white ones, she said, perplexed. Then, in a panicked voice, can't move. I'm just scared. She began crying. I want to go home now. She wept, her chest heaving. A terror rose up inside her. Long fingers, she added, suddenly tense as she sees it. There's three around my face, almost touching but not touching it. What's on the other side of the fingers? Annixter prodded. Light. White light. I remember this hallway, all lit up in blue lights, even in the ground. I guess I'm walking, but it doesn't feel like I'm walking. Go on, please. It's like a tunnel. Long, no room, just a long tunnel of blue lights. Until finally there's an opening. Nothing in there. Who are you with? The white guy. Where's your husband? I don't know where he is, she moans. I can feel him in my mind, though. I feel like I'm linked to him. We can't talk, but we both know we're going through the same thing. Annixter sat forward in his chair. Describe him, the white one. She concentrates. Her eyes flutter in rapid, sudden motions. Big head, real white. I can't tell what they're made of. Like skin so translucent it glows, but you can't see veins and things. She strained to see. I guess he's wearing a shiny covering too. I don't know what kind of material that is, she hesitated. I see something on his chest. It's like an arrow, just the top of an arrow. What else? Just three fingers and a thumb. Really shiny, really long, she elaborated, and then with fear and distaste sputtered, I just hate his eyes. So dark you can't even see them. Can't see the parts like our eyes. They're big, then they go skinny at the ends. That tiny nose, practically just two holes, little tiny mouth, but I don't think there are teeth or even lips. A little chin, no hair, skinny body like a 5-year-old's, almost my height. What happens at this point? What does he say or do, if anything? I'm supposed to just lie on the table. It's okay, she thought for a moment. I don't know why he keeps looking in my eyes. He puts his finger on my face just like he did at home. That time when he burned me, she explained. He just moves his hand about 5 inches from my face, then goes down my body, the length of it. Please continue. I'm not supposed to remember anything else. I only remember when they want me to. Were you told that? I don't know. How do you know when it's all right to remember? I don't know. If you have some way of knowing when it's all right to remember, then what does it feel like? The words spewed from out of Elisa's mouth, like poison, control. Say more. They always know where we are, she spat out angrily. They always know what we're thinking. They think they can do just anything they want. Please continue. Say what you're comfortable with. What would you like us to know? Yeah. Bigfoot apparently smells like a skunk crawled up an ass and died that exploded the shit that was up in the ass of the Holy shit. Yeah. Yeah. Told you guys would agree on that. I don't remember, Kimberly. I have a theory. The UFOs also use USO. These things are always in a world, so why not literally like a hollow earth, but it's so massive under crust, up to sizes of countries. I don't know. See, I kind of agree with you on that one. Not kind of, no, I do. I do actually. Because that's what they were drilling for in this book. Yeah, that mineral stuff, whatever it was. I don't think they want to hurt us, she spouted, but I know they can and they will if they have to. At this point, I jotted a handwritten note, hoping the information might help jog Elisa's memory, then handed it to Dr. Annexter. You may want to ask about the two marks she found on her neck the morning after the incident. Annixter took the note, read it, and nodded. Did you find two marks on your neck the morning after your experience that hadn't been there before? She nodded. How did they get there? Elise swallowed hard. I was laying on the table, she answered tensely, and there was this silver wand, and it had two tiny openings on the end. They just put it on my neck. It didn't hurt then, remembering. That's what was going over my body, not just his hand, real shiny. What did it feel like? Like a little buzz, a zap, a little shock of current. That's all I'm going to say. Why is it dangerous to talk? I don't know. Is there more you know that you won't share? I can't tell you, she growled threateningly. Wow. Dr. Annexter was puzzled at the brick wall he had run into. He gave Elise instructions to continue thinking about other pieces of the account that were safe to share, then turned his attention back to Tom. The last recollections you told me about, Tom, were fighting and resisting the white beings. He paused to let the words stir recollections from the moment. I want you to take a deep breath, focusing on that moment, and tell me what happens next. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Me too. He paused to let the words stir recollections from that moment. I want you to take a deep breath, focusing on that moment, and tell me what happens next. Tom took a deep breath. He let it out. He seemed comfortable, able to remember again. That odor. Wow, this odor is just, it's just weird. Like, this is the first time I've ever heard anything about the aliens having red eyes. Like, I know there's smaller aliens and there's the grays and whatnot, but like 2 feet, 3 feet, they're like little gremlins. I believe they have huge crafts and fly around the sky, but they disappear so quick. Makes me think dimension. Just my thoughts, though. I do too. If you guys ever watch Skinwalker Ranch, I've learned a lot from that show, and it's just wow. If you're into science, it's amazing. I think so too, Kimberly. Yeah. I've always thought that. There is a portal at this ranch too, and that's what they say, and that's what they're seeing, is they go right into this portal. Yeah. That odor, the same as before from the truck, it's everywhere. But now I'm not in the truck. I'm being led down a tunnel. I don't know where, with all white walls, a light guided by a bunch of people on the side pulling me. Where's Elise now? I'm alone by myself. It's like we've been together going down at first, and now we are separated, with Elise taken to another area. He bunched up in his chair suddenly. I remember trying to get away. That's all right. Calm down, and Exeter instructed. What happens next? Oh, you watch it too, Kimberly? Oh, I love it. There's how many there's don't they have 4 seasons, right? Or 3 seasons for sure that I know of. No, maybe it is 4. Yeah, if you guys ever wanna watch it, you gotta watch it. I watch everything that I don't have the channels for on Yes Movies. It is neat to talk about, like, when they were doing the drilling and everything, and there was stuff underground they couldn't get through. Yeah, it was interesting to say the least, and then when they saw the UFOs, and then that dog that was eating the cattle, but it wasn't a dog, it was, like, this big black monstrous thing that could have been a Bigfoot because it smelled like Bigfoot. It's really cool. I'll have to remind me when I'm done reading this, I wanna show a clip of it. Yeah, the radiation. Remember yeah, because he got radiation on his hand, remember that? And over his face. Yeah, it is pretty cool. We should talk about it after. Through the tunnel, lots of bright lights. I'm being led by several of the white beings into an open room. He squirmed uncomfortably in his seat as if struggling to get away. Tom continued speaking rapidly, fearfully. It's all right now, they're not going to hurt you. What happens now? There's one big round light in the center staring down at me. I'm laying on my back, restrained by my arms and legs, looking up and seeing the outline of people or beings looking down on top of me. Tom's eyes closed, then shut more tightly. The light is so bright it's hard to see, but I'm with them fighting. There's an examination probe with an instrument. Go on. I never talked about it. It's okay to talk. Tell me, what is it you've never talked about? They insert it into my body cavity. I remember fighting. It hurts. Pain in my anus and my lower stomach. He flails his arms in the air. I'm telling them to stop. Like that there. Like, are you kidding me? How this is freaking torture. What the fuck do they need to do in these people's asses for? Like, what the hell? I'm telling them to stop. Does it stop? Asked the doctor. Yeah, it stops. His head lowers. I want to go home. I want to see my kids again. Dr. Annixter was pensive as he let the past 60 minutes settle in his mind. Then he heard Elise murmur, seems like all that bright light would hurt your eyes. What did you say? He asked urgently. Seems like the lights would hurt your eyes, but they don't. Are you alone, Elise? Except for the white being. Then what? Then into the room with the silver table, the same light as in the hallway, and one big round white light. How did you get on the table? It lowers. I sat on it and laid down. No pillow, no blanket, and it didn't hurt. How do you know what to do? I just knew. I knew. I knew. He can tell me with his mind. No words, he puts ideas in my head. Is he in communication with you now? He can if he wants. Are you being watched right now? Elisa's head was angled toward the ceiling as before, eyes closed, still directed at a solitary spot. They know what I'm doing by probes. The three observers in the room, hearing every syllable of what was being said, gasped collectively. Annixter has done it, broken through at least one of the barriers that separated us humans from them. The doctor spoke slowly, methodically now. Please explain what you mean by probes. Elise reached up with her right hand, eyes still closed, and began pawing at her neck, the right side near the jugular. What does that mean? She felt the side of her neck, running her fingers along the flesh. I can see you're touching your neck, he told her. What does that mean? Elise continued searching the area of the neck with her fingers as she spoke. That's what they shot into my neck that time on the table with the silver wand. Annixter paused for a moment as he considered his next question and how to best position it, then said, when you say they're watching you by probes, what do you mean? She spoke with absolute conviction now. The words shot out like military command. Tracking device put inside of me. That's how they know where I am and how to communicate. How do you know that? I don't know. Is it something you're fairly certain of? Elisa's hand had still not returned to her side as she continued, in her hypnotic state, to feel the device shot deep into her neck that night. That is crazy. Yes, I'm certain, she answered sadly without hesitation. Yeah, that is crazy and scary. 11:10 a.m. A chill passed through each observer in the room as Dr. Annexter, Lori, and I attempted to piece the account together. Without question, they had been on board the craft and holding chamber long before they went to sleep. Apparently drugged or entranced. In some manner, the two were taken from the truck by the white beings Elise had described. A violent struggle ensued between Tom and their captors, and as they walked them into a brightly lit tunnel, then separated them. Each was then taken into distinct operating rooms, where Tom was examined anally with a probing device and Elise was scanned with a wand like instrument before a tracking device was implanted deep into the base of her neck. That's why they always know where they are. It all seems so fantastic, and yet, to those familiar with the account and everything the Giffords had been through, what could make more sense? Like animals tracked for study, Tom and Elise had been trapped, evaluated psychologically and physically, then released as specimens to live in their own natural environment. Small wooden, these horrible bone-chilling nightmares of the past 2 years. Wasn't it obvious now? Why now, psychological explanations aside, that they felt watched and monitored? Clearly, they had been. It was Dr. Annixter's mission now to find out why. The doctor took a deep breath. This session had been arduous from everyone's point of view, an emotional roller coaster that had Elise, as the doctor was about to begin, quietly sobbing. Elise, Dr. Annixter began once more. You said before that you don't think the beings want to hurt you, but they would if they had to. Have they ever hurt either of you? Severe headaches and nightmares, Tom answered swiftly. Stress at having our emotions pushed to the limit and drained. The procedure was painful, he went on to explain, but we feel they've gotten bolder, more aggressive lately. How do you mean? Like when they burned Elise's face, he said resentfully. They've never done anything like that before. What happened? It was early in the morning, Tom expounded. Maybe 3 a.m. when I just lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking, seems like dark shadows moving on the ceiling, but maybe it's just the trees. Then maybe it's not the trees, as I began to feel the presence of the white ones in the room. Go on, please. I opened my eyes and was shocked. I thought my heart was stopped when I saw its face directly over mine. I would crap my pants. Can you imagine having that face right above you? Wow. I thought my heart stopped when I saw its face directly over mine. I don't know how he could stand behind me because the headboard wasn't there, he reflected, watching the moment in his mind's eye. But he did. Then he ran his long, three-fingered hand over Elisa's face, not touching her, then touching her. I saw the welts from the fingers rise up red on Elisa's neck as I watched. And that's when I knew it wasn't a dream, and he began screaming. What else do you remember? Asked Annixter. The next morning, there were burn marks on her face, a lightning bolt on one cheek, and the imprint of three fingers on the other. That is crazy. Elise called her mom hysterically, trying to remember how it happened. Then I remembered the white guy being behind the bed and me snapping pictures with the Polaroid. But it was like it never happened. They always do that, he complained. Do you have the pictures? Yes, he answered. Three of the five came out, but by morning, they turned back. Dr. Annexter settled in his chair, attempting now to get them talking more easily about safe topics so he could move toward the ones they'd been unwilling to discuss earlier. Any other experiences where the beings have injured or hurt you? Baby Ashley, said Elise without thinking, then perplexed. Something to do with Ashley. Say more. It wasn't the right time in my cycle to get pregnant. I shouldn't have gotten pregnant. That night, Tom looked at me and said, You're pregnant. And I said, I know. And he said, Is this the right time for you to be pregnant? And I said, No. She racked her brain. Something to do with the baby. What do you mean? She sat up straight in her chair, eyes popping open. They were there, she shrieked at the revelations now spilling from her unconsciousness to her conscious mind. They were in the room with us that night. Be calm, Annixter coach. Take a deep breath and continue. She did. The instruction seemed to pass by her, soothe her torn nerves and psyche as she settled once again into the cushioned armchair. They were watching us, she recalled, her eyes fluttering in sudden rapid motions while the images passed before her. It's like we both knew they were watching but didn't even care. We had sex and I got pregnant and we both knew it. And we knew that they knew it, she uttered, astonished. Yeah, remember I was reading that last time? They were literally banging in front of these aliens. It was like, what the frig? It's like I see them, but I can't see them. Her voice trembled. I was so scared. I didn't know what Ashley was going to come out being like. Then suddenly passive, but she's fine. And they left us alone for almost a whole time I was pregnant. The doctor nodded. The moment was ripe to delve deeper. Do either of you have a sense of what it is they want? What they've done? What, oh, sorry, why they've done what they've done? It was Tom who answered. I keep having these feelings of fear and frustration and contradiction, but I don't think it's over. I don't feel threatened as I did at first, and in a way, I believe there may be an underlying source of good. How do you mean? Their presence is here and always has been more advanced, he explained. Their hope is that our world might be able to see or encounter them without mass hysteria, though making contact with select people to help raise consciousness and communicate that these are intelligent beings in a whole existence that parallels our world. Where do they come from? Tom strained as if trying to recapture the memory of an elusive dream. They have been here all the time, he answered, his eyelids going through a series of rapid motions, existing spiritually, then becoming physical. Oh my God, that sounds like what you were telling me, Kimberly. So they were existing spiritually and then became physical. They were from other planets, but are more spiritual now, a power and a force. And why do they want to make contact? To deliver a message that the world needs to be as one. That if there's war or massive destruction, they will intervene. Wow. What else do you know? He shook his head from side to side, frustrated. It's unclear, too unclear to go on. Just thoughts now and images of them. Dr. Annixter accepted the answer. He turned his seat toward Elise, who sat with her body lax, head tilted to one side, lying on her right shoulder. Elise, do you have any idea what these beings want? Or why they're here? It was Macra watching Elise sprang up in her chair, suddenly animated and alert. Her voice, rather than soft and emotional, took on a new cadence, which was clipped and direct, quite unlike her. They want to make contact with the population. Tom and I are specimens, imperfect like the human race. When we're ready to communicate with them face to face, then possibly the world will be too. Her actions, such as edging forward in her chair at the moment, seemed mechanical, as did her voice as she continued. They have to study our reactions so they know how to approach us. They don't have emotions like ours. So they need to teach us them. They need us. They need to understand humans. So they need us to teach them our emotions. So they don't even have, right, SD? Yeah. Do you have a sense as to who they are and where they've come from? He repeated. There are five galaxies. Theirs is the next closest. In order for all five galaxies to work together one day, they have to start, and they're starting with us, so we'll be united galaxies. What else do you know? Annixter asked, feeling as if he was in contact with someone other than Elise. I know where the universe ends, she said, rattling the words off in a fashion like sounds from a machine gun. Is that something you can put into words? Now there was no denying something incredible was happening. Our universe ends where theirs begins. Our universe ends when all its matter stops mattering to us and starts mattering to them. Huh? Everyone in the room looked to one another, stunned as they heard what they were seeing. For now, sitting on the edge of the out of date cushioned armchair, sat Elise Gifford, her body rigid and vibrating with newfound energy. Yeah, no emotions does sound demonic. I think they're being deceitful too. Not today, Satan. I'm thinking, I wonder if I should stop here and then show it because then I can read the rest tomorrow. I'll read a little bit more. 12:17 p.m. As was earlier agreed, Dr. Annixter and I then switched places so that I would be able to ask questions. Would you mind now if Ron asked some questions of you? No, she answered. I began cautiously. Elise, why do you think there are things you don't want to remember? I don't know. Is there something preventing you from sharing what you know? I can't tell you. If these beings are in contact with you, tell me what you know about them. God created our world in his image, but not theirs. she croaked. Or any of the others. Are there many different kinds of beings? Yes, different ones, different hybrids. When do you think this communication will happen between the aliens and the humans? I don't know. In my lifetime? How long will you live? She retorted. The hairs on the back of my neck raised. In a normal man's lifetime? Our children's, she said at last. It was then that I had the distinct feeling that I was in a chess match of words. Elise had begun to take satisfaction in the cleverness, the sharpness of her responses. Hey, autistic. No, that's no, you're good. Just have a listen. I tried a new tack, waiting a moment for the dust to settle, then beginning again in a shower more slower, not shower, in a slower, more calculated manner. Are we watched as a population regularly? Yes, by different many kinds of beings sent on missions from the one supreme, she said, finishing my sentence. What does that mean? There's one supreme being that controls all of them. He sends missions here. They're not here of their own accord. This is like a president or like a god, like a god, she responded with crackling directness. What else do you know about the one supreme? The beings could care less if they were here or not, she continued in that same clipped and militant voice. They're just following orders. I recouped. Where do I take this from here? I asked myself. The answer I came up with was so retreat back to perhaps the most poignant moment of the session. You talked about the universe and matter earlier. You said our universe ends where theirs begins. Our universe ends when its matter stops mattering to us and starts mattering to them. She keeps saying that. It's so weird. Congratulations. Same with Heavenly. Yesterday, she had a grandson. That's awesome. I reflected briefly on what Tom had said concerning their intervention into our world if war or mass destruction seemed imminent. What does that mean? I don't know, she answered simply. The missions these aliens are on, are they friendly or unfriendly? They're neutral. They could care less. That's creepy. What does the One Supreme want? I asked pointedly. For all the galaxies to live harmoniously together. Do we have a separate God from the One Supreme? No. What else do you know about this entity? Is it a being like the others? Read the Bible, she said. The Bible? Again, I stopped to strategize a way of getting at that last elusive piece which Elise had refused to discuss throughout the session. Do they know about a project? Sure. Do they care if I rephrased it? Well, it's apparently something they don't want to stop. Suddenly the mask dropped, her face wrinkled in a marked distaste. They're into everything, just everything, she fumed. Movies like E.T. and Close Encounters, television like Star Trek, and even comedies like Elf and Mork and Mindy. It's already in everyone's mind, but so deep they don't even know it. All part of their plan to desensitize people for the contract. That is fucking crazy, considering um, I was reading that photo up here. I was reading the comment section, and they were saying that was President Kennedy actually was told that ET looked like ET for a reason because that's actually what they look like. That is crazy. And now this book is saying that the same thing. And she said movies like ET. That is wow. Oh my God. All part of their plan to desensitize people for the contact. And that's what they said to them. Is that what you think? I pressed, or what they've communicated to you? She seemed puzzled and surprisingly vulnerable at that moment. It was a question she too had grappled with. It pops into my head like I know. She speculated as much to herself as to me or anyone. It's like someone told me, but no one has ever told me. That's when I think I'm going crazy. I leaned forward, coming very near to her. At least the part you don't want to talk about, is it physical or psychological? I don't know. Is there some kind of mental block preventing you from discussing it? I don't know, she repeated stubbornly. I stayed on it, equally tenacious. The part you don't want to talk about, I asked, is it important or unimportant to our subject? She shook her head the negative. I don't know. I was getting closer, beginning to feel the resistance weaken. Did Tom have a similar experience? Her eyes fluttered rapidly. Her entire body began to tremble. He couldn't have had the same very experience because he's not a woman. She hesitated, then added, but Lori knows. Dr. Annixter seized the moment. Are you saying you told Lori what happened? No, but she knows. We turned to Lori, who sat to the left of Elise in the corner of the room, nonplussed. They used their probe to examine me inside and out, she spouted, hurt and angry. They might as well have raped me. Then once again, evenly, almost as an afterthought, that's it. That's the part I didn't want to tell you. Yeah, for the rapture. He wanted to disclose stuff like that, but certain folks couldn't have that. Yep. It's just crazy how I'm finding this everywhere now. This is why Google has deemed me persona non grata. Oh my God. Dr. Annixter switched places with me at this point and took charge of the session. Step by step, he brought Tom and Elise out of their hypnotic state, reassuring them that the information they had discussed was important and needed to be talked about, instructing them that participating in the session was right and good. The final instruction the doctor gave was that they would not suffer from pangs of guilt or anxiety, that they would come out of their trances refreshed and psychologically disposed toward a feeling of overall well being. Individually, they awakened, Tom first, then Elise. Neither had any recollections of what had occurred or been said while in the hypnotic state. Despite the fact that they had been under for nearly 4 hours, they believed where moments had passed since the doctor induced them. Tom stretched his long, muscular body, yawning and obviously stiff from being in one position for this length of time. Elise noticed the wetness on her cheeks and wiped the mascara that had smeared from the corners of her eyes. She fluffed her hair, then looked at Dr. Annixter, sincere and ardent. So, what do you think, doctor? She asked timidly. Are we crazy? Annixter was equally earnest when he answered, no, Elise, neither one of you is crazy. 2 p.m. Sandwiches and sodas were brought in for the group as Dr. Annixter reviewed and discussed the videotapes with his subjects. Both Tom and Elise were shocked and pleased by what they heard and saw. At last, they had been vindicated. Their account of the events that had transpired on the night of October 21st and the morning of 22nd had been verified under clinical hypnosis. Finally, there was an explanation for the missing 4 hours and the strange and terrifying events that had followed even to that morning. 4 hours. Yeah. I knew what my conclusions were as we sat in Dr. Annixter's session room that afternoon. It was time now for him to share with us his professional opinion. Well, doctor, I said at last, it's been a long, interesting day. How do you see all of this? Annixter ran his left hand along the right side of his beard thoughtfully, then reclined his stout frame back in his armchair. I sometimes do work for the FBI using retroregressive hypnotic technique for witnesses that may not remember all that they know about a person or event. His sharp, discerning eyes scan the faces before him. In those situations, if there's doubt or needs to be speculation on exactly what happened, I lean toward the version that requires the fewest assumptions. He turned the palm of his left hand up in the air, explaining, in this case, we could say the account is a fabrication, he suggested. But why? This situation has endured with them for more than 2 years. There is no mental illness, so why would two normal, intelligent, adjusted people make up a story that's upset their lives so totally? He shook his head. No, for this to be true, it requires many far-flung assumptions, so that is unreasonable to believe. The other possibility, I asked, intrigued by the process he was taking us through. He nodded, placing his hands behind his head. Don't press that. No girl. Actually, there you go. Here. The other possibility I asked, intrigued by the process he was talking us through. He nodded, placing his hands behind his head, then sank back into his chair, eyes lifting to the ceiling as he collected his thoughts. Having eliminated mental illness and the possibility of fabrication, the next uh, The next would be that the givers did, in fact, see and participate in an experience. Yeah, don't touch that, Miss Thing. No, in an experience in the Mojave Desert that day, perhaps military exercise, but somehow misinterpreted what happened. His discerning stare dropped now to eye level with each of us, but no, the detail here is too extravagant and the thoughts and descriptions too tightly organized for that kind of massive misunderstanding, he continued. And then, as Dr. Baton puts out for two people to agree so closely and to have their accounts so divergent from any kind of military exercise I can imagine. He shook his head. Again, many, many assumptions would be required here. Dr. Annixter turned to me, then to the Giffords. No, Tom and Elise, I don't think you're crazy. What I think personally and put forward as my professional opinion is that on October 21st and 22nd, 1989, you both had a close encounter of the third kind, unlike any I have ever heard of or seen in my professional experience. Wow. So even the doctor agreed and said that they did have this experience. I watched Tom and Lisa's reactions, positive and relieved. So, how does that make you feel? I asked myself, quietly gratified. Makes me feel happy, answered Elise, to know after all this time that it wasn't us and that it really did happen. Tom smiled. It was reversed, but depthful, rife with satisfaction. It makes me feel good, he said, a glint of optimism in his eyes that I've never seen before. Real good about now and about the future. Yeah. Wow. So they've been vindicated. I believe we're on the last chapter. Yes, we are. Last chapter, which is chapter 3. December 23rd, 1991, 3:30 p.m. The Christmas tree lights glared red and green and blue as the Lionel train, complete with coal car and a caboose, circled and Tom Jr. and Zoe played, entraptured. Beyond the ornaments and circle of tracks, and children, adults filled the living room of the Giffords' home. Familiar faces, brimming with holiday cheer, talked and drank eggnog and chilled California wine in a plastic cup. There were Wolfie and Carol, John and Vivian, Tom's good friend Paul Moran, Lori and me, and an assortment of neighbors. In a far corner of the room, sitting in a sofa chair, I spied Elise with Ashley in her arms. The baby was crying as Elise attempted to console her. I decided to walk over. Nice party, I commented, observing the caring gentleness that Elise demonstrated with the delicate, fussing infant. Yeah, she said, looking up, if only for a second. Tom and I are so glad you could make it. Hmm. Soon Ashley was quiet, resting peacefully on her mom's shoulder. I took a sip of wine from the clear plastic cup. So now that it's come this far, how are you and Tom coping? Better, she answered. Tom's been offered a new job and will probably be moving to Salt Lake City, she chuckled. Kind of ironic, isn't it? Sure is. Makes you wonder what this whole thing's been about. Any ideas? I mean, what's your final take on it? Elise smiled contentedly, seemingly at peace with herself at the situation for the first time since I'd known her. I don't feel like it's over, she answered, glancing intuitively to Ashley, who slept soundly in her arms. But I don't fear it anymore. It's like that horrible feeling of constant dread has been lifted. Why? I asked, curious. What's changed? In the midst of the conversation and laughter, the loud stories and sounds of children playing, Elise allowed herself a moment of contemplation and perhaps prayer. In many ways, the last session with Dr. Annixter left as many questions as answers. But what I keep remembering is that moment toward the end of our experience when the gremlins were running wild and the illuminated ones were trying to break us, and it looked like we were going to be killed. I kept remembering that in the end, it was the angel, the comforter, who dominated. She looked up to me, her face more radiant, more alive than I've ever seen it. I think that she's a symbol of something, maybe hope for the future. The words tumbled in my mind, like so many children rolling playfully down green and grassy hillsides. In the end, it was the angel, the comforter, who dominated. No, there's just a little, yeah, okay. There's just an epilogue, and then that's it. We're done. In the preface to the Mojave Incident, I suggested that the Giffords' experience in the Mojave Desert on October 21st and 22nd, 1989, would change the way the reader viewed man's place in the world forever. Like anyone who has read or heard what happened, I was compelled to evaluate each of the alternative explanations based on facts and my own life experience. After having rigorously studied their firsthand descriptions along with the tapes of their individual psychiatric sessions, I am personally convinced that an extremely rare event in human development has happened. Rather than some UFO or alien encounter, the Giffords during those 12 hours and afterward were allowed to view, conscious and with duration, an entire level of existence that runs contemporary with our own. Historically, there is an undeniable precedent for the existence of this other world, as mentioned in the body of the book. The ancient Indian tribes of Mojave acknowledged it. The Greeks saw their gods on Mount Olympus manipulating the lives of humans on a giant chessboard. Modern organized religions speak of angels sent down from heaven to counsel prophets and holy men. Philosophers from Socrates to Kant struggle with the concepts of free will and predestination. But in the final analysis, these metaphors become incredibly real, for perhaps we are indeed watched by spiritual mentors who allows us our free will and choice up to a point, that being self-annihilation. For generations, humans have known subconsciously that there's another level of existence, a spiritual forces, as Tom describes them, locked in a moment-to-moment struggle over the destiny of the humankind. For generations, glimpses into this world, shaded by fear and insecurity, have occurred regularly. Perhaps soon we will be in a position to accept the non-traditional, yes, radical viewpoint, so simple and yet so beyond our reach. There's another world, more advanced and more involved in our future than we can imagine. In truth, they have been here since the beginning of time. The devil might be a so that's the end for the epilogue. Someone wrote here, the devil might be a presence from another universe. We might be fighting an implacable enemy out there, and the devil might be the agent of the implacable enemy, with God as the tired general fighting that war with his own agent of hopes. From Norman Mailer, David Frost interview, November 1922. And I think I literally read everything. He's got a lot of books. Um, so he's the author of 7 novels and 5 nonfiction books, including Jack Madsen, which is a crime thriller series, and the basis for the television series The Mob Doctor. Hmm. We are done this book. Well, that was terrifying, wasn't it, Claire? Was it scary? Well, this thing. All right, I want to show that show. So I'm going to show that show. The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. Why did I do it this way? Whoops. This is Claire. Yeah, they found a wormhole. That was a month ago? Really? Holy crap. Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. I'm just gonna look for a trailer. It's a great show. Like it's very knowledgeable. I love it.
Michelle! Elijah!
Wait, what?
Well, there he is. Is it your birthday today? Oh, you are, Dennis. On your mark, hey, go! Go there. What was that?
That's completely wrong. That is a movie. I'm looking for the. There we go. I can't remember. Ha, I'm gonna subscribe. I didn't realize they had YouTube. How long is this? 1 hour and 31 minutes. What is this? In the Skinwalker Ranch team Q&A. No, I just want to see a video. Only 30 seconds.
Unlock the secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, insider access. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes content, deep dives into experiments, live chats with the team, and 24/7 live access. Join now for a free 7-day trial.
You need longer videos, dudes.
Look at that. Something split the plane in two. It runs into something and it has to curl back.
Whoa. What would cause this void?
I can hardly believe what I'm seeing.
Cameron is seeing orbs.
We captured something moving at 3,600 miles per hour. It came out of the mesa.
The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, Tuesday at 9. Only on the hit.
Such a good show. I remember that the alien or the UFOs would come up because remember the part where those cows were both putting them out? Yes. And I remember the cows when they got mutilated. It was so sad. And then they all kept going to one part just to avoid the aliens. Like it was crazy. Like you're sitting on is that your toe? Oh, that's your little toe. Never mind. Um, yeah, so I love it. Like when they were shooting off those rockets with the balloons, that was when they seen that UFO, remember? It was like, holy crap. It is full of a lot of cool stuff. How many seasons? I don't even know. Wish I could find more that were longer.
The deeper we can see into that mesa,
it's hitting something really hard right now.
the more we're going to understand what it is we're messing with.
We should be digging, drilling right there.
When we're making changes to the landscape, something unusual happens.
We are 40 feet to the target. The drill is encountering
I wouldn't
a
mess
hard
with that.
object. You're not going to believe this.
The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, Tuesday, April 18th at 10. Only.
Like when they keep going to the mesa and they keep messing with it, I don't know. I don't like it. I just feel like they're messing with something that they shouldn't, especially when they know that there's a indigenous tribe there, the Mojaves. I guess the story goes that the Mojave tribe actually, that's weird how I just read that book, but the Mojave tribe actually um, attacked another indigenous tribe. I can't remember the name of it, and they killed them all. Yeah, their cell phone, like that one guy's cell phone, keeps calling out, it keeps flicking and going through different apps and stuff, and he can't get it to stop. I really like that show. Oh, there we go. It's a bit long.
The beauty of being here is that dishing up goes with layering up.
Don't be showing me snow.
And the beauty of being here is that we've got everything you need to make the most of winter out there. Find all things simple at Mark's.
No. What a bunch of jerks. I'm so scared I'm gonna get cut off. A dome-shaped anomaly. Like, what do you guys think it would be? Hi, wishful thinking. Like, I'm wondering, like, how... Because remember they did, like, I don't know, like a heat signature thing on the ground, and they found, like, a dome thing that was in there. And now this thing's poking up against it. So, I mean, automatically I'm like, UFO, UFO. And then I remember the season stopped and I never got to finish it. So I'm wondering. Oh, what the fuck is that? Anyways, that's the show. It's very interesting. And they go at everything scientifically. So you learn a lot. They don't just think UFO everything, right? They really don't. They try everything. And like when they put these rockets up, they had parachutes on them. And when they were doing that, they were shooting them up into the sky. A UFO popped up. It was like, what? And that helicopter, I still don't know who that was. They were thinking it might have been like government checking up on them to see what they're doing at Skinwalker Ranch. Listen, I think there are things that we don't know what it. Yeah, of course. I totally agree. There's some things that are just not explainable. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna get off here, but we're finally done that book. Tomorrow I'm gonna come back and read wait, Autistic, are you still in here? I know LB's live. I'll message her after and we'll pick when to read that book. Oh, you're still here. When do you want to read that book? Because I'm done this one now, so I can start a new one. And I've got another one to read with Nun. I'm just thinking I'm trying to go in the line where I talk who I talked to first. So it was you first and then it's Nun. I don't want to read too many at once, too much. Whenever? Tomorrow night at 7? I don't think I have anything for tomorrow night at 7. Just gonna double check. No, I don't actually. Tomorrow's Friday. All right. I'll meet you over here at 7 then, and I'll just yeah, if you want to come on panel with me, that'd be awesome because you're from the area or you are in that area and you live there and you can if I have any questions, you can help me. Yeah, 7 Eastern Standard Time. Then we can read the book. There's photos in it too, so remind me, I'll take the pictures. Oh yeah, somebody was supposed to write me something at the end of this. Oh yeah, Skinwalker. Okay, we're good. I'm gonna shut up and get off here. It was a good book. I saw something on Facebook where it was seen, then unseen. Really, I love stuff like this. Terrifies me, but I really like it. Yeah, exactly. She's the perfect person to do this with me. It would be amazing. All right, you guys have a great night. I was gonna make a video tonight, but I don't feel like it. Like meeting with KJ, got so many different screenshots that I was going to do it, but I don't know. I think I might just wait till tomorrow. Kind of tired and lazy. All right, you guys have a great night. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.